Hey guys, it's Sam, it's Geek, and I just wanted to make a video about this whole privilege argument. Now, ever since Tumblr became massively popular with liberals and feminists and all the people on the left, there's been this notion and this revival of this argument in college called the privilege argument. And in most sociology classes like marriage and the family and females and history and all that stuff, they often refer to in the patriarchy and privilege and how some classes are more privileged than other classes. Now, of course, the argument is incredibly flawed due to different environmental circumstances and depending on where the person actually is. And, a black person in the deep heart south of Georgia is going to have a lot harder time than someone who lives in Atlanta, which is the capital. I think it's the capital. My geography may be off. But, you see, it's massively different even in regional senses. Like here where I live, 15 miles up the road, only white people live there, in Los Alamos. Pretty much the community is almost 90% white. Where I live, it's almost 80% Hispanic, like 15% Native American, and the rest is white. You see, it's a massively different situation where I live, especially in my state, which is 75% Hispanic, which is it's one of the only majority states. So a minority living in my state is going to be dramatically different than someone living in Arizona or Texas or even, Colorado. But the privilege argument, the people who use it say that it's meant to start discussion. But unfortunately, not everyone has the same situation. So it's not always true. So people may read your argument and say, well, that doesn't apply to me, because mostly all privilege arguments are anecdotal evidence. I mean, for Christ's sakes, on one of the privilege blogs, I read something like, I can't even lock my door because I'm female, or something like that, and because I'm afraid that, someone's going to try and rape me, I have to lock my door. First off, it all depends on where you are, what city you're in, what likeliness that's going to happen, and all sorts of other data. So, for some people, that may not apply to them at all. And, some females aren't as paranoid as that and don't have to constantly keep their door locked. And, if I lived in an apartment, I'd keep my door locked all the fucking time. Why? Because I don't want people coming in my room either way. Sure, it's a slight inconvenience to me to turn the little knob on the goddamn door handle. And as you see, it has nothing to do with, males and females. It's anecdotal evidence. Any one of these things. And it's just like the thin privilege thing, this person had trouble getting 2 seats on a plane, and they gave her 2 wrong seats. That doesn't happen every single time. And most of the time, it's solved by going and talking to management. It's all anecdotal bullshit, and it doesn't apply across the board. And my main beef with it is that they say it's meant to start discussion. Bullshit. The privilege argument is meant to shut down discussion. It's meant to discourage people from challenging these ideas or these stereotypes or these situations. That's what it's meant to do. It's meant to, make you feel guilty. If you're the party at blame, it's meant to make you feel guilty. There's no other reasoning behind it. And people say, well, being privileged doesn't mean you have to feel guilty and blah, blah, blah. That's bullshit. If it wasn't for that reason, then why post it all up, and then when anyone disagrees with you, harshly fight them back? If it wasn't meant to make them feel guilty or make them feel like something is wrong with their society because some people in other places feel like that, And it's just funny because you could say first world privilege, and that's what I often do, is because, drinking clean water, first world privilege. Because It doesn't matter. It doesn't apply across the board. Some situations are reversed in different areas. For example, we may have a patriarchy here in America, but I believe the word is the matriarchy. Matriarchies do still exist, and they exist in America. The American Samoan is matriarchal. The female controls society. They own the land. They own the houses. Males can't do that necessarily, or it's discouraged. They could probably do it legally nowadays, but since I think American law still extends to the American Samoan, even though it's a territory, but in their tradition, females own all that stuff, and it's a societal difference. And same with the Navajo Nation here in New Mexico and Arizona. The Navajo Nation, the females own everything. The females control all of society. It's not a male-dominated society. Males are considered disposable and considered property. It's anecdotal evidence because depending on where you live, it may or may not be true. And it's more personal situations. It doesn't happen everywhere. White people aren't privileged everywhere. You know, in some parts of America, if you're white, you're going to be fucking beat up and all kinds of shit just because of your race. And it's not meant to start debate, and it's not meant to start discussion. You can argue that these things need to be fixed, but the way the privilege blogs are set up, it's meant to make you feel guilty. It's meant to make you feel bad. It's meant to discourage discussion, and it's meant to like somewhat prove their point. That's all it's meant to do. And I really wish people would be honest about that, because it just pisses me off, because I have no problem with people, you know, making these blogs. I think they're stupid, and I think the point of them is stupid. But the thing is that they're dishonest about what they're really about. They're basically just rants. That's all they are. They're rants. They're anger. It's just pure frustration and anger put onto a blog because you want these people to feel guilty because you're being discriminated against at that current time. You know, and it really sucks because a lot of these movements do have some points, but they're taking the Malcolm X approach instead of the Martin Luther King and Gandhi approach. And, you know, it just sucks to see it like this. And that's what really discourages me about some of the arguments on the left, because the left has some points, you know. I don't see a reason why gays can't get married, and I don't see a reason why marijuana is still illegal, and, you know, those type of situations. But their way of doing it is disorganized, shitty, and they wonder why their points never get heard or even looked at or even, you know, acknowledged. It's because the way you present your argument is shitty. Just like Malcolm X presented his argument shitty. Instead of trying to, you know, work together and integrate and try to, you know, get his opponents in and talk about it like Martin Luther King did, Malcolm X tried to shut down discussion, tell people they're wrong, tell them they're stupid, get people angry, and even mentioned retarded situations like wanting to separate a whole chunk of the country and make it blacks only and the other half whites only. And you see, these are just destructive ideas. The whole way of protesting and trying to engage in discussion that I've seen over Tumblr and the way they do it, it's not productive. It's not, you know, it's not even progressive, as they like to say that they are. It's not progressive. It's just a shut down debate, shut down any notion that any part of your ideology may be wrong, and it's extremely close-minded.